Joining us now, Congressman, 7th District, Dr. Dave Brat, Republican. Congressman, good to have you with us.
Hey, John, great to be on.
All right. The Fräulein's favorite congressman of all time. She loves you.
I love it. Thank you.
All right. So should I be jealous? I don't know, Dave. What do you think?
I don't think so.
But you got the hair thing going, see? We've got hair envy, Mike. I got hair envy, Dave. Okay, now, look, let's get to what matters. Here we go again. Another lame duck session, and we've got your friend Mitch McConnell saying we're going to have another stopgap budget. And we got your friend, Speaker of the House Ryan, saying that there's going to be another last-minute budget deal in a lame duck session because, again, we have no budget. And now there might be a fight to close the government down. Is this like deja vu all over again? When does this stop? It's the same playbook, Congressman, different time. When does it stop?
Well, it stops when the American people send enough representatives up here who will quit voting for the same thing every year. So that we just have the House Freedom Caucus is standing our ground for a long-term CR. Even that's not optimal, but going into a lame duck with Obama, the chief architect of executive overreach for the last 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. And what you're hearing reported right now, right? The deficit's going up to about $600 billion under Republican control, and then you don't know what's going to be in this thing. TPP can pop up. The Puerto Rico bailout can pop up. Bailouts for other states can pop up. Zika funding can pop up. Green tax extender legislation can pop up. All of this is going to be in play while we're negotiating with Nancy Pelosi. And so you say, how does this happen? And it is amazing how it works, right? So the Senate, we have 54 majority. We have the House strong, and we own the Senate 54. But because you need 60, our leadership on the Senate side, Mitch McConnell says, well, we don't have 60, and so Harry Reid is telling us what to do, and he's demanding that we do a short-term CR. That's what we got to do. I mean, so it's almost like, can you imagine if the roles were reversed? If we were in the minority, do you think the Democrats would listen to one thing we want?
No.
And so it tells you, right, the establishment, Mitch McConnell types, are doing what? They want to say yes to every single piece of imaginable in December in a lame duck when Obama still has power, right, carrots and sticks to throw at people. And expect the worst, right? We're going to have a conference on this Friday on the House side, but I'm not optimistic. I've been predicting the same thing every year until we get enough of us up here.
All right. So
and I do just want to mention on the shutdown scenario, right?
Go ahead.
The House Freedom Caucus gets blamed for this shutdown nonsense. It's totally nonsense. The House Freedom Caucus fought for regular order. Paul Ryan promised us regular order. That means the budget stays in committee and then goes to the floor for a vote where the American people get to see and discipline us. But they did not keep their word on that.
Why?
And so that's not the House Freedom Caucus's problem, right? The leadership lost track of the budget. Now it's out of control again, as it's been the last 2 years, but that's because we lost track of the process. And so we want a long-term CR that goes into March that fully funds the government. So there's no shutdown. And then we'll wait to see if our own team, right before November elections, I hope our own team doesn't start throwing stones at Republicans. I mean, it's too much to take.
Okay, so let me just ask you a few questions here. Dr. Brat, number one is, you're right. Speaker Ryan, when he came in and he said you guys recruited him, that he wanted to spend the weekends home with his daughters and whatnot behind his walled mansion, etc., he said there would be regular order, which means just what you said. A budget would be debated. It would come up on the floor. You would vote on it, and people would be held accountable to that, right? That was one of his promises. He reneged on that. Why?
Well, you answer the question however you want, right? I mean, it's because our party, the establishment piece, and the Democrat, the establishment piece, they control a $4 trillion budget. And they always overpromise everybody. There's all sorts of good bills up here, right? And so you can fund everything, transportation, education, NIH funding, Zika, this, that, and the other thing. But what's always left out It's the $600 billion deficit we're putting on our kids, and we're putting the brakes on our economic growth. Right? So everyone says, why do you guys want to say no to some of the spending? Because we're spending our kids' money, right? We're spending it for a pizza party right now, and we're going to make the kids pay the bill later. Mm-hmm. And so it's just totally unethical. And then I have Social Security and Medicare, all of those are insolvent in about 14 years. So the kids won't get those programs unless we change right now. And Paul Ryan knows all this, right? It's not like I dislike Paul Ryan personally. It's not the issue. Whoever is in that slot has an almost impossible job because too many people just want to vote yes, yes, yes up here and keep the paychecks rolling in and the funding stream coming in. And so that's the problem. We need to term limit ourselves and each other and turn this ship around before it's too late.
All right, just keep the money rolling in. So I want to get back to what you said earlier, that Mitch McConnell throws up his hands and says, well, I can't get to 60 votes, so therefore we have to do what Harry Reid says. But essentially what you're saying is the real play is they want the entire goodie basket to pass in the lame duck session. They don't want to take ownership of it. They don't want to be accountable for it, but they want all the money and all the bells and whistles and all the earmarks that go with it. They want all the spending that goes with it because they don't really want to change anything. And so this 60-vote cloture rule is a perfect out for them. That's why, right, McConnell simply didn't get rid of that rule, which he could do tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I mean, just the other course is where Republicans stand their ground and explain to the American people, hey, we have a majority here and a majority here, and we're doing your will, and here's our budget, and the Democrats, if you want to change things, then get a majority, right? Mm-hmm. That's all we have to say. And then they're going to threaten to not vote for a budget. Well, good. Then you just wait for them to finally do what they're going to do, but we never do that. We throw up the white flag way too early. We never push and use our leverage to get what we want. And the last omnibus last year, right, we busted the budget caps. Paul Ryan called it a crap sandwich. This year, it's going to be a crap sandwich with extra helpings. It's going to be even worse, right? So our own leadership says it's a terrible product, and yet we throw our arms up at the last minute. We create, right, these crises that are totally artificial. Mm-hmm. Before we went on recess, there was not one word in the press about a shutdown. Mm-hmm. And now you come back and, it's a race to pass a budget because otherwise there's going to be a shutdown. Mm-hmm. The whole language is just constructed, and you can just look at which presses are writing this, right? They're all left-leaning. Anyone that uses this shutdown thing is a left-leaning press, and they're just going along with the narrative that's been written.
But the real emphasis here is that the Republicans that don't want to change it, that then buy into the shutdown thing because it's more leverage, their real agenda is just to get this omnibus budget, this omnibus pass with everything in it. They don't want to cut anything out. That's what I just want to confirm here. It's not like they need 60 votes or they're outgunned or this or that or, Obama's going to bring the hammer down. They want this to pass. They just don't want to admit it.
No, that's right. I mean, just go look at Mitch McConnell's budget. I mean, right. They have to put a budget document together. Do they cut any programs? Do they reduce the deficit anywhere?
No.
In any writings that they have?
No.
And the answer is no.
No.
And so that's the proof, right? I mean, it's very easy to verify everything I'm saying is true, right? Mm-hmm. And anyone can go look this up in 1 minute and confirm everything I've said is factually true. They don't have a budget that reduces the deficit. It increases spending. And then on top of it, right, we're already not doing fiscal discipline, right, which should be a Republican creed, point number one. But we're going along with this crisis mentality in the Democrats. And, a lot of it's just because after the Mitt Romney loss, we did the autopsy report, and the conclusion was we ought to be scared of everybody, right? We're scared of every demographic group under the sun, which is just ridiculous, right? The American people want us to do the right thing for their kids, to get this economy roaring again, get small business roaring again. It's not about ethnic makeup and all these identity politics. It's about doing the right thing for the American people. And it doesn't matter what background people are from. They want success for their kids. They want a great education. They want economic growth. They want pride in their country. And we need to get back on that train.
Congressman, let's get to very quickly the debt. I think it was the month of August, we had the highest deficit run ever. And the CBO says that in a decade, our debt will be $26 trillion from the $19 trillion that is now if we don't do anything. So I hate to ask this question, but we're 60 days out from one of the most landmark, perhaps, presidential elections in the Republic history.
Yep.
Not a word about this debt from either candidate. Why?
Yeah, no, I wish Donald would do more on that. He at least mentions it once in a while. He'll say 19 trillion, way too much. It's an embarrassment. It's terrible, whatever. Hillary and the other side never bring it up. But we do need to pay way more attention there. The other fact that goes along with it, right? In 10 years, what you just said, all our federal revenues will go to mandatory spending programs. So we'll have to have a $1.2 trillion deficit per year. $1.2 trillion to fund the entire government. We'll have to deficit finance and go into debt and put that on the kids' backs, right? With a 1% growth economy right now. And we're sinking the kids. And I wish the compassion would come out there, right? The left and Hillary and Elizabeth Warren and the presidential candidates on their side, Bernie, they promised to get rid of student debt and all this kind of thing. Sounds good. It's a teaspoonful compared to 19 trillion and 26 trillion in debt, and then 100 trillion in unfunded liabilities and losing all the programs for the kids. So, I mean, the compassion card, my word, the Republicans own it. If only we would play the card and we'd win in a landslide. But somebody needs to explain this to the next generation that they're getting steamrolled. And if the kids aren't voting Republican, they don't understand what's happening to them.
Congressman, you're the only member in the House of Representatives with a doctorate in economics. What's the crash number? Is it 27 trillion, 30 trillion? I mean, there's some number where it's just over. What number is that?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I get people that are very concerned in total doomsday, and I'm not there. Because I always say it's kind of a joke that we got 30 to 40 years of evidence that you can be pathetic on economic growth and still survive, and it's called Europe, right? So, I mean, Europe breaks every economic rule. They still get by, but they're not. It's not American exceptionalism. And this country is different. Our people want to thrive and grow and have that American dream experience, and so we're slouching toward Greece, and it's more problematic. Just standard of livings are going to go down. Money for education and all the things we take for granted, health care, Medicare, Social Security, it's all going to get clipped. State and local money is going to get clipped within 10 years. And so it's usually, the debt's going to go up like it did in the financial crisis. And then some other economic shock, right? We're going to have another recession. And we're deficit spending $500 billion right now.
Right.
And the Federal Reserve has $4 trillion on their balance sheet. So we're on a sugar high right now, stimulating the economy like crazy, and we're only growing at 1%.
Right.
And so if we have another severe shock, which is likely because we've distorted our economy beyond comprehension by distorting the primary price, which is the interest rate, for the last 7 years. It's artificially low. There is a bubble out there. We just don't know where it is yet. It's likely in the equity and bond markets, and it will pop. And then we're going to have to deal with that somehow, right? And we never change the fundamentals, which are focusing on education and capital, right? We need business people to make big bets on the future and putting millions of dollars into capital equipment to get this economy roaring. But right now, the small business folks are terrified. No one's going to put down $1 million on capital bet right now with the outlook the way it is. And
Absolutely.
so we need Trump is optimistic and positive on that front, and so I think he's trying to make that pitch.
All right. Well, I mean, at least he's aware of it, right? We don't. I mean,
Right.
I think what he said is we had some other things we have to fix right now, and then we'll get to that. But like you said, Hillary Clinton never mentions it. I got a minute and a half. Another $900 million cash payment going to Iran. So far, we paid them $1.3 billion in cold cash. This is cash on airplanes, on pallets in the past, 2 months. What kind of an impact is this going to have?
Well, it's making the American people so cynical. I mean, that's the Hillary's numbers are imploding right now, and Trump's are on the rise for this reason, right? I mean, it's Trump had a bad couple weeks after the convention, but since then he's been on a roll. He's been giving high quality speeches. He's been going into the inner city and going to meet with pastors and et cetera. And the cynicism of the government, the U.S. government, trying to go around the minutia of the law, right? So you can't take money out of an account electronically, so you got to deliver cash to the Iranians. And that deal was horrendous, right? I was one of 20 or I can't remember, maybe it was only 9 people that voted against that Iran deal because it was not constitutional. And I said, you're going to get what you're going to get. And here we are. You get bad policy when you don't follow your first principles. And so all you can do is ring the alarm bell and hope everyone wakes up. But the Obama-Hillary regime, it's not Iran. It's the entire Middle East, right? Iran is Shia in the north. And then you have ISIS, Sunni, fighting against them. And then you got the Saudis, Sunni, underneath them. And they won't take part in the fight because we're screwing up foreign policy so bad. Mm-hmm. And so it's just an unmitigated disaster in every country, right? Syria, Libya, Egypt, everything is on fire right now due to Hillary Clinton, State Department, and Obama weak foreign policy. And so I think the people get this, and Trump is saying all the right things on these issues. He's going to step in and take control and reassert America's strength, which is the Reagan doctrine. And we didn't have these problems back when he was in play.
Well, he's going to win. I have no doubt in my mind. And we have an outside shot to carry Virginia now as well. We got Rubino back in charge. Congressman, We're out of time. I want to thank Congressman Dave Brat for being with us. By the way, he's running for re-election. That'll be decided on November 8th in the 7th District. You can get more information. Go to davebrat.com. That's davebrat.com. Congressman, as always, thanks for being with us.
Hey, you're great, John. Thanks so much.